Hey, what's going on, everyone? You're currently tuned into the Better Today, Healthier Tomorrow podcast, and I'm your host, Ryan Howard. Today, we're getting the opportunity to sit down and chat with one of our outreach specialists from the trauma department, Hannah Brandon. Today, we'll be giving you guys a few tips on Halloween safety. All right, Hannah, how are you doing today?
Doing pretty good.
Awesome. So, Hannah, first of all, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule and come and chat with us about this topic. I know the parents at home are really going to appreciate having this information. So, before we kind of get started, you mind kind of giving the people at home like a brief explanation of kind of what you guys do?
Yeah. So, my role within the trauma department is I do injury prevention education for our trauma patients. So, if a patient is admitted and they're here for some kind of injury, I'll go in and talk to them about how to prevent the same injury from happening again, or also the most common injuries for their age group and how we can hopefully prevent those from happening. So, that's my tiny role within the large trauma program.
All right, that's awesome. So I want to go ahead and dive into the topic. So I know it's Halloween season again, and we want to make sure that we're keeping the kiddos safe. So my first question, like off the top, like, why do you think that it's so important that we're discussing Halloween safety for families and these kiddos?
Yeah. Well, first of all, Halloween, as you said, it's fun. It's a great time for families. But anytime you get a bunch of kids together on the streets at night, going to strangers' houses a lot of times, like there's always potential for injury. And most of those injuries are preventable. So we want to talk about those things and hopefully not have any visits to the ER
Yeah.
during that time.
Absolutely. So I've got to ask this one thing I never really thought about. I guess, like with Halloween, I guess this should be a no brainer. But what are some things that parents should keep in mind when choosing safe costumes for their children?
Yeah. So there's a couple of different things. We want to try to choose costumes that, if you can, that are flame resistant. Because even though we encourage flameless candles to be used at people's houses, sometimes there's not. And so we want to choose fabrics that aren't the most likely to catch on fire. So a lot of times that's nylon or polyester are really g- better fabrics for that purpose. And you'll notice that a lot of Halloween costumes are already made of those materials, but you can also look on the tag of the costume and it would say flame resistant. Something else is, as I mentioned, if you're going to be out on the streets at night, you want to make sure that drivers can see your child. So if you can put or even buy the costume already kind of reflective or something that would allow drivers to see them easier, that's great. But if the costume doesn't have anything like that, like if it's all black or something, maybe putting some reflective tape on the costume itself to help drivers see them is really great. Or if you can have them wear glow sticks around their neck, or sometimes kiddos carry little flashlights just so that they can be seen.
You mentioned the point you talked about, like, things that are, like, flame resistant
Mhm.
and things along that line, which made me think about some what other accessories like, mask or costume pieces and things that, like, parents may potentially overlook that they probably should consider when they're purchasing those costumes?
Yeah, yeah. So if we can, we always want to opt for face paint versus a mask because, again, um, being out on the streets, if you're going to be crossing the road or anything like that, you want your kid to be able to see really well. And if that mask is affecting their ability to see cars or anything like that, we don't want that to happen. So if you can opt for face paint, that's always a better option.
So let's transition a little bit and talk about the actual like trick or treating aspect of it and the safety. So I know like a lot of these kids and parents are gonna be like walking through the neighborhoods and moving around and potentially even moving through busy intersections and things. Like what type of things do you think that we should like consider to kind of prevent like walking through the streets or prevent pedestrian accidents when they're moving around?
Yeah, so on the side of the trick-or-treaters or the family side, you want to, again, make sure that people can see your kids' costumes and everything. So those reflective things, those lights, that's always good. Using a buddy system, crossing the street at crosswalks, but also in groups is better too, because then you're more likely to be seen by a driver. And we want to, as a driver, we want to make sure that we're slowing down, especially on the nights when in your neighborhood there's going to be trick or treaters. Typically, neighborhoods have like assigned nights that they're going to do trick or treating. So slow down and also put your headlights on a little sooner than you normally would so that those headlights can reflect off of the costumes so that
Mm.
you can see those trick or treaters.
I know that a lot of people would advise that you only trick or treat in neighborhoods that you're familiar with. Why do you think that people should consider doing that?
Yeah, so I would think that's probably related to if you know the neighborhood, you know where the crosswalks are. And you also, if you're familiar with your neighbors, you know that they're safe places to go. And um, again, you know where to cross the street and everything.
Since we're talking about traveling and moving around, like what are some things that people can do to make sure that they're not being distracted and when they're driving or moving through neighborhoods? Because I understand, like with Halloween, you got costumes and just a lot of opportunities to not be focused in. What
Yeah.
are some suggestions that you would give for parents?
Well, I mean, definitely putting down your phones. That's always a good thing when you're driving. Don't look at the crazy costumes, even though I'm sure there's going to be some silly ones out there. And obviously, and I've seen this before, like don't try to take pictures of of people in costumes while you're driving. Like just keep your eyes on the road.
Yeah, just keep that phone out of the way. But I guess that should be a
Yeah.
yeah,
That
just
should be an
yeah.
always thing,
Uh-huh.
not just Halloween.
Yeah, and for a lot of people, I guess this is more so for parents and like people that aren't necessarily getting out and they just want to give out trick or treats. How can those families like prepare to keep their homes safe for trick or treaters?
Mhm. So, definitely keeping good lighting. So keep your front porch light on, so that the kiddos can have good visibility. And also, this sounds silly, but we actually see a ton of just same level falls in kids. So just removing odd trip hazards in your yard. I mean, obviously, you can have your decorations and stuff, but things that they may not see, like water hoses, tools laying in the yard, something that they can literally fall on their face
Yeah.
with. We see that a lot.
I feel like that's a really good point because that's something that, I wouldn't even think about. Like, are there any other things that you think that like are potentially overlooked for people that like are doing the trick while giving out the candy and stuff? Are there any other things that come to mind that you think that people overlook or don't think about in regard to making their home safe for the
Y
kiddos?
yeah, so putting up all of your animals.
Mm.
So, even if you think you've got the sweetest dog in the whole wide world, children, especially small children, are the biggest targets for dog attacks. So, we wanna make sure that we put all of our animals away, even and indoor dogs as well, if you know that there's a possibility that your dog's gonna jump on someone if you open the door to give them candy, it's good to lock them up and keep those kids safe.
All right. And I think that this may be a given, but it's like after the kids get all the goods, they got all the candy, and they get home and they're ready to eat their candy. Why do you think that it's important that parents should make sure that they're going through and checking out everything before they give it to the kids?
Yeah. Well, you wanna make sure it hasn't been tampered with in any way. So, when you're inspecting the candy, you wanna make sure there's no little tiny pinholes in the wrapper. You wanna make sure it's a commercial wrapper. We don't wanna, get anything that's not obviously been packaged in the store. And then we wanna make sure it's not discolored or anything like that. So that's just to, keep them safe from any kind of food poisoning. And, something else to think about on that same, topic is, to keep your kids from going ahead and snacking on the candy before, you actually get, because sometimes they're just gonna be snacking away after they've been to someone's house. So feeding them before they go is a good option, especially for those younger kids. They just know that they're hungry, so they're just gonna take the candy out of the bag and start eating it. So giving them a little bit of food before they go trick or treating, just keep them from that snacking, and then you can inspect the candy.
Oh man, that's some good advice. You're gonna have some angry 5 and 6 year olds
I
because they
know.
can't snack on their food. Yeah, yeah. So they're gonna be upset with you for that.
I know, my bad. Blame me, parents.
So, so something that I think that people may not necessarily consider with trick or treating and getting the candy and thing, but people with children with allergies, like and
Mhm.
making sure that we try to keep them safe. How can parents of children with food allergies make Halloween fun while keeping their kids safe?
Yeah, so, if you can, and I know this is difficult to tell, but if you know of houses that will be offering non-edible items, that is a great option. There's actually a project called the Teal Pumpkin Project, and I do know some families that actually participate in this. So If there is a pumpkin outside of the house that's painted teal, the color teal, then that house offers non-edible items to children with food allergies. So that's something to consider. And that for those families who do want to do that, offering little small toys is a good option. Little stickers and glow sticks, stuff like that. And that way, you're not only helping someone with food allergies, but you're also helping them to be visible on the road when you're giving them little glow sticks.
Oh man, that's awesome. So you mentioned Teal Project,
Hmm.
which is pretty awesome. I have to admit, I didn't even know that this existed. For the people at home, can you kind of give like a brief like rundown on what that is and how they can get information about that?
There is a website that families can go to both look for houses that say that they're going to offer non-edible items, and then parents or families who want to offer non-edible items, they can kind of register their address on that website so that they can be visible to those families with food allergies.
Oh
Um,
man, that's such a cool resource, and I think that's so awesome that they have that available for those kids with allergies.
yeah.
So, gotta do this, and this is like with Murphy's Law. There's always a possibility that things could potentially go wrong. We would hope that they wouldn't, but there's
Yeah.
always a possibility that that could happen. So, like, in the event that things do go wrong or to prevent that, like, or to be prepared for that,
Mhm.
what should parents talk about with their children regarding emergency situations on Halloween night?
Mhm. So definitely make sure your child, if they're going to be out alone, make sure they know how to call 911. Like make sure they have, and not just like the dialing of the 911, but also what to tell the person who they talk to, like that they need to be able to give their location. They need to be able to tell the person on the phone what happened. So kind of going over that with your child and when to call 911 when there's a severe injury of some kind. It's also good to talk to them about, we never wanna go into someone's house for a treat. We never wanna go into someone's house, we never wanna go up to a vehicle to get a treat either, so, talking about those little, um, tips, those safety tips with your kids about it's tempting because 'cause you're having so much fun, and if you get invited into a home, we don't ever wanna do that.
Oh man.
We don't know the person.
Absolutely. Something that I always like to ask like people so our parents at home can get more of an idea of like the staff that we have here. Can you tell us what you love most about your job?
Yeah, I would say I love most when I get that it's like a light comes on for the parent that I'm talking to, like, "Oh, I didn't know that that was even available." Like, I didn't know that, like, for example, when I tell them about our safety zone that we have on campus, and they're always excited to hear about that, like, "Oh my gosh, that's such a great resource." Or when I'm talking to families about really any injury topic and how to prevent it, they're when I see that light come on and they're just like, "Oh my gosh, I'm definitely gonna do that now." I think that's just knowing that I walk out of that room feeling like I've made a difference is that's what I love the most.
Oh man, that's awesome. Well, you are making a difference with all the work that you're doing. I know that all the parents at home that watch this are going to really appreciate you coming by and giving this information. So, thank you guys so much for tuning in and checking out this podcast. If you guys found this information meaningful or helpful, please make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, you guys take it easy.